every now and then something happens that makes you look at something you really believed was really the ultimate and the solution to everything in a new way. I grew up in the big pharma and little pharma looking at drugs for inflammation, and I thought that this was the only way you could do this. And when I first heard about the area of electroceuticals and therapeutic neuromodulation and other names for this kind of thing, I was at first skeptical. And it's a very new area. Not a lot of people know a lot about it, and it's very early in developing this technology and understanding it. There's a lot going on here, and there's going to be a lot more coming in the future. So today we decided we would introduce you to this area. We have some 2 moderators that are working in this area, and we have 4 panelists that are working in this area. And over the next hour and so, hour and a half, you will get to learn a little bit about this area, and I think by the time this session is over, you'll be as excited about it as I am. So without preventing you from getting on to your intellectual dessert, I will introduce our 2 moderators. First is Sean Moadeb, who's right here. He started a company called Avita Technologies. He is also working in this space, although we didn't have time for him as a speaker. We will hit him up for next year. He is also a serial entrepreneur, and he's a partner at a VC firm called MedInvest Group. So he is knowledgeable in this space, and he will moderate half the program this afternoon. At the other end of the table is Michael Langout. He is also a serial entrepreneur. He gave a lecture this morning on Salari Medical, a company he is founding that is in this area also in a way. And he is running an incubator also in the Seattle area. So these gentlemen will introduce our speakers in the next hour and a half. So I hope you enjoy the program. I'm sure you'll hear more about it at future meetings as well. Okay, sure. Oh, and if you're thinking about starting a company in this area, Ahmed reminded me to ask you to start it here in the LA area.
We have Google Sigma, we have the company that's part of 60 million.
Right.
Boston Scientific Neuromodulation, Valencia.
Yep.
We have a cluster that's emerging.
Right. All of those reasons that Ahmed just listed, this would be a good area because you will have a lot of companies in the area that are also interested in the same space. It will be a cluster for sure. Thank you.
And we have an alliance with the venture fund from GSK that invests in that area.
No pressure there. All right.
Thank you, Tom.
Sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. And I hope you have enjoyed the conference so far and ready for another exciting session this afternoon. My name is Sean Moadeb. I'm a CEO of a company called Avita Technologies. It's a VC-backed neuromodulation device company. We target in autoimmune diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis and psoriasis and Crohn's diseases. And I'm also a partner in a venture fund called MedInvest. It's an incubator medical device fund where we specialize in investing and active management of portfolio companies, from startup through IPOs and exit. So it's my pleasure again to be here. I think this is one of the fastest growing area in the market. It's growing at about 14% annually, and it's expected to reach about $7 billion in the next 3 to 4 years based on latest market research. So I'm honored to have a group of distinguished board panel members and speakers here with us today, sharing their thoughts and ideas in this field. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, who's going to share with us his thoughts and set the stage for our presentations. Juan Pablo Mas. Juan Pablo is a partner at Action Potential Venture Capital. It's a venture arm of GlaxoSmithKline, based in Palo Alto, California. He invests in companies that are pioneering bioelectronic medicine and neuromodulation technologies. Juan Pablo was previously at investment firm of Lightstone Ventures and American Thrill Ventures. Prior to that, he led the effort at Medtronic, Division of Cardiovascular Divisions, and he earned his MBA and Master in Electrical Engineering, both from Stanford University. And please join me in welcoming Juan Pablo to the stage.
Thanks. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Ahmed, for inviting me to speak. It's my first time attending the SoCalBio event, and relatively new to the GSK effort. About 4 months in, but the fund was announced and the overall bioelectronic effort was announced by GSK about a year ago. I'm glad to say that we do have one of our first 2 investments out of the fund was in a LA-based company called SetPoint Medical, so I feel some of the heat is off of me, at least for this year, right? What we wanted to do to set the stage a bit, as you'll hear today about some interesting companies, including SetPoint Medical in the bioelectronic medicines, is introduce what bioelectronic medicines means to GSK, what that overall effort looks like, what we are investing in, and what how we feel that is distinct from historically developed medical devices in neuromodulation. So the inception of Action Potential Ventures and the bioelectronic effort at GSK was, came from the chair of R&D, Monsef Salawi, being asked to help diversify the portfolio and the pipeline of therapies at GlaxoSmithKline. Glaxo has no medical device business unit, manufacturing or sales efforts, so this was really white space. And what Monsef saw was, sort of an opportunity to take advantage of another, pathway in the body, being the neural circuitry of the body, leading to almost every visceral organ in the body, and in most cases implicated in major chronic disease states. So, from the perspective of identifying new targets for treating some of the most major disease states, it's rich for discovery, for development of new therapies, and it's, as we're all wired already, there is a pathway and something that we can leverage. So this is just sort of the netter anatomy pictures of what the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems look like and some of the organs that they innervate. From a simplistic perspective, the sympathetic nervous system is sort of the fight or flight system, and the parasympathetic is often called sort of the rest and digest, or the quelling of some of the activity of these organs. So, if you look at this broad set of potential targets, we're aware of probably maybe 75% or at least 2/3 of these are being actively pursued by companies, startups, folks in research settings and academic settings, and GSK is trying to promote and foster a lot of that learning and look for leverage, into new technologies. So when I talk about what current medical devices in neuromodulation look like, there are sort of 2 constraints that have been inherent in the industry, and I think there are 2 that we're trying to address directly in the bioelectronics effort at GSK. One is sort of a focus on empirical data and sort of broad anatomical recruitment of nerve fibers by stimulating broadly in the brain, in the spinal cord, and otherwise large nerve trunks. Like with drugs, you have the impact on the select or the targeted nerves that you're attempting to impact, but you also could very well be having off-target effects, and that's something that I think with technology kind of leads to the next constraint, is that with new technologies you're really enabling a whole other class of therapies that allow for that sensitivity that specificity and selectivity that we believe next generation devices will hold. And much of this, I should say, is aspirational in many ways. It's sort of setting a direction that we understand as a longer term path, but we are very excited about companies that are doing both of these things, understanding some of the neural pathways, some of the mechanisms of action, as well as perhaps advancing some of the basic neural interfaces and technology that allow for next generation bioelectronic medicines. So that's sort of the intro to what we view as bioelectronic medicines. Really, it's the goal to make devices arguably first-line therapy, ahead of drugs, perhaps in particular disease states where that makes most sense and where the safety profile might be advantageous over something that's inherently systemic when delivered to the body, like most drugs. It's also we choose to focus on the visceral organs in the body as opposed, so the peripheral nerves as opposed to the central nervous system. I think that's where we can begin to reduce the complexity of these therapies and approaches and get as proximal to organs to avoid off-target effects as possible. There's a hope, and I think research out there that would support that in some of these chronic disease states there is a neural language of the body beyond just sort of the knowledge that we do today, where we'll stimulate or perhaps block all communication to a nerve, through a nerve to an organ, but that perhaps there is a signature language of the nervous system speaking to a nerve in a healthy patient that's distinctly different from that of a diseased patient. And so can we do both closed loop, record and stim solutions that allow for patient-specific modulation, patient-specific titration of dose, and so on. So that is another aspirational element. Ultimately, for these devices to ever compete with drugs, I think access and morbidity have to be reduced, and access has to be increased, morbidity needs to be reduced, and so miniaturization is another key element to what we are striving for. So these are just some of the hallmarks. I don't know that to this room it's as necessary. When I speak to rooms where it's almost 100% medical device industry, there's sort of we've done it this way forever. It works. If in a patient it works, that's the most important thing. And I think there's something to be said for that, but there is an element, I think I try to make the point here that mechanism and an understanding of the pathways really does enable some key things that add value to the companies that you're starting. It tells you, as we've talked already, about where and how to stimulate for efficacy and safety. It tells you theoretically how to best pick patients for your clinical trials, how to best predict who are the responders, how to best present that information to regulatory bodies and to physicians and patients. It allows also for IP that may help you protect against competitors that are coming behind you. Certainly I think just overall increases the confidence with any of the stakeholders that a company interacts with throughout its lifetime through to commercialization, and potentially allows for new products to be developed off of those same insights. So I won't talk about this anymore, maybe just switching a little bit to the three-pronged effort that GSK has in bioelectronic medicines. It's the venture fund, which I'll go into a little bit more here in a couple slides. It is an internal research organization that is managing a collaboration of a variety of academic labs and basic research in neurophysiology. And there's an innovation challenge as well, $6 million prize to open innovation for a company that can, or a lab that can develop a product that meets certain specifications, and all that is online. Action Potential is a $100 million fund, and it's mirrored after the Evergreen fund that you're probably more aware of, SR1. SR1's 30 years old, has deployed something like $830 million in capital. Action Potential is also going to be an evergreen fund. Both are measured by financial returns, and we will have this clear strategic focus and Action Potential that we layer on top of that when we consider new investments. I'm in Palo Alto. My partner's in Cambridge, Massachusetts. We will invest across the spectrum, and sort of 10 to 15 million per company reserved, and so aiming to invest in about 12 or 15 companies, SetPoint and Axon being two of those. The fund will be broken down by both biologic and disease state-specific opportunities. Many of them are listed here, and the technology-enabling companies as well. So I will fly through this because I know we're short on time. This is my last slide. I just wanted to make sure, these are long-term projects. They require a lot of capital. There are fewer and fewer early-stage medical device investors out there. Very good news that was announced just over the last couple of months was that both a $248 million program at the NIH that is targeted specifically at what I've just been talking about, bioelectronic medicines, with a very similar definition, as well as another sort of $80 million coming from DARPA with a similar focus on this area. So definitely tap into these for non-dilutive grants. But look forward to talking more in the panel. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.